Hi guys, it's Tuesday, which means another episode of the Tuesday Tack Room Talk. I'm Casey James with Double CJ Horsemanship, and this week I didn't really know what to talk about, and then it kind of dawned on me about the horse culture in the UK. Okay, now this is a tough one because the horse culture in the UK is baffling to me, okay, for many reasons, but as a professional trainer I see a lot of people and I end up sort of fixing a lot of problems with people that have tried to start their own horse. Okay, now this is a bit of a touchy subject, okay, because I've developed my program specifically to produce a sound horse. That's what I specialize in, is producing sound horses. Okay. And I see a lot of people that have tried to start their own horse and then a few years down the line have encountered a lot of issues. Okay. Anything from napping to not loading to bucking to disrespectful behaviors, all sorts of stuff. Okay. And the reason it baffles me is because the attitude around training horses in the UK is, oh, I'll just give it a go. What can go wrong? Okay. And in truth, a lot can go wrong. That's why professional trainers exist in the UK. Okay. So I always say it's very easy to ruin a horse, but it's very difficult to make a good one. All right. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, I have developed my program through experience and working with many horses over the years, and I continue to refine it and adapt it to each horse. Okay, no two horses are the same. Now, in England, the culture around starting a horse is, I'll just give it a go. I've ridden for 15 years, 20 years, and because I can ride, that means I can train a horse. That's the general attitude in the UK around starting horses. Okay, which is fundamentally flawed, because just because you can ride, it does not mean you know anything about horse psychology, horse biomechanics, how to train a horse and to produce a sound horse, okay, how to read a horse, stuff like that. Okay, so like I say, I end up fixing a lot of problems with people that have tried to start their own horse, okay, and then later down the line encounter a lot of problems. Okay, because there's been gaps in their starting process. Now, the general sort of attitude in the UK is that people tend to ignore the problem, kind of bury their heads in the sand. It's a very English thing to do. Okay, bury your head in the sand and coin the behaviour, the horse's behaviour, just, oh, they're feeling a bit spicy today. They're feeling a bit sassy today. Oh, he's just full of beans. Okay, when in actual fact, there's a deeper issue there. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, because they don't know how to read the horse. They don't know the horse psychology. They don't know the theory behind what they're doing. Okay, so I get phone calls all the time saying, I've started my own horse. And I go, okay, brilliant. So what's the problem? Well, he won't lunge, or he won't load, or he keeps pushing me around, or he'll run me off his feed bucket, or I can't pick his feet up, or he'll randomly buck, or, he won't do this, won't do that, and the other. Okay? Now, these are all issues that if the horse was started correctly the first time around, you wouldn't be having those issues now. Okay? And this might be hard to hear, but as a horse trainer, I find this a lot. Okay? And from a professional's perspective, it is much easier to start a horse correctly the first time around than it is to fix a horse that's been started badly. Okay, so what a lot of people do in the UK is when they start their own horse, they'll go, oh, I'll lunge him around, I'll slap a saddle on and just lunge him around again, and then I can just get on and ride him. Okay, and this is why in the UK there's a lot of horses that are spooky, bolty, disrespectful, not sound horses. Okay, they're not handleable. The farrier won't come back to you because he won't have his feet picked up, etc, etc. Okay, and these are all very common issues that I see quite a lot. Okay, so I've kind of made it my mission to help educate people. Now, if you're a client of mine and you're watching this, you will know that I work with the owner of the horse and the horse. Okay, I don't just turn up, train the horse and leave. I turn up, I train the horse, and I teach the client, the horse owner, what it is I'm doing, the theory behind it, the why behind it, little subtle cues that most people will miss. Okay, so like I say, it's much easier to train a horse correctly the first time than it is to undo all the bad habits and the learnt behaviours that have been missed, or the horse has been allowed to get away with for so long and end up resulting in a bigger issue. Okay, so it's very important that a horse is started correctly the first time around. Okay, you'll save yourself a ton of money, okay, from having trainers come out over and over and over again, you know, because you encounter this problem, that problem, the other problem. Okay, so like I say, most of these problems are sort of weaned out through the starting process if it's done correctly. Okay, loading, having the feet picked up and handled, being touched all over their bodies so they're ready for the vet. You know, stuff like this. They're not spooky, they're not reactive, they're respectful of your space, they're not pushy, etc, etc. Yeah, all this stuff should be squared away through the starting process. And my program is very thorough in covering a lot of different bases, so the horse that is produced by the end of the program is a sound horse, a well-rounded horse, a well-balanced horse, a horse that's been exposed to a lot of stuff. Okay, and that's all right with it, you know, because another thing you see a lot in the UK as well is horses are just shut down. They're shut down mentally, you know, they just tolerate a lot of stuff, and people tend to see that, oh, he's a nice broke horse, you know, whereas actually, in fact, I look at the horse and go, that horse is just shut down. He's not here with you right now. He's just tolerating this, you know, and that's not good for the horse. Okay, that's not nice to see for a horse. And it's usually disguised as, oh, you know, he's just being a bit sassy, or he's just a nice little plodder, you know. And so, yeah, what you tend to find, there's a lot of gaps in horses, which makes for a generally unsafe horse. Okay, and the culture around horses in the UK is one where people tend to, they don't want to see the issue. They don't want to see that there's a problem there. Okay. And so they'll kind of bury their head in the sand and just avoid the problem and hope that it goes away, you know. And hope isn't a training method, okay? So like I say, this might be hard to hear for some of you watching this, but like I say, I've kind of made it my mission to help educate people now. So I've started a YouTube channel. I'll put the link below. I'll be posting free training tips on there, free advice. You can also ask me questions or get in contact by email, message, phone, DMs, whatever it may be. Leave a comment, whatever it is. And I'm always happy to help. I'm always happy to give free advice, to give tips, and stuff like that. Okay, so I've kind of made it my mission to kind of make horsemanship the norm in the UK. Because I just see such a lack of good horsemanship in the UK, and there's not many of us practicing good horsemanship this side of the pond. So I've kind of made it my personal mission to kind of spread the word, if you like. All right, so any questions, let me know. And like I say, I'll post the YouTube link down below. You can go there. I'll be posting weekly free training tips, advice, and stuff like that. If there's anything specific you'd like me to cover, shoot it over, and I'm always more than happy to give my 2 cents on the matter. And as always, have a good day, guys. Thanks for watching.